Greetings, folks. Sealer here. Today's replay is courtesy of Wes the Handsome, whom I featured on the channel a few times before. Wes gets the honor of having this channel's first Italian cruiser replay to be featured. He is sailing for us the tier-VII heavy cruiser, the Zara, and he is in a tier-VII domination match on neighbors with no aircraft carriers. Now, Wes's build in the Zara is mostly consistent with what I would expect of an Italian cruiser, with one interesting observation. He takes the main battery modification 2 upgrade in slot 3, and this is an upgrade that I have historically avoided taking myself because it increases main battery reload. However, Italian cruisers are very maneuverable, and keeping guns on target is an important factor. And so this upgrade and the fact that it does improve turret rotation in combination with adrenaline rush, once that starts kicking in, will overcome the penalty of taking the upgrade. And so a very sensible choice in my opinion. Now this replay is going to feature or highlight a couple of things. First is, I think we're going to see some demonstration of very good cruiser tactics by Wes. Wes is a very experienced Royal Navy light cruiser player. That line is very unforgiving, as I think most people know. And if someone is successful in the Royal Navy light cruisers, they will have developed some very good situational awareness, understanding of positioning, angling, and so on, that will serve them well in all cruiser play. And again, I think we're going to see a good demonstration of that in this match. The other factor or other aspect that's going to be highlighted here is how not to play an Alpha and Bravo strategy on the neighbors map. Now, in past replays that have involved neighbors, I've mentioned that I prefer an Alpha and Bravo strategy because it is much easier to establish center map control from Alpha than it is from Charlie, and teams often get hung up at Charlie with this sort of ring of islands and the lots of cover. People feel safe there, but that tends to act as sort of a trap in that area. And so it's very common that teams will lemming or largely lemming to Charlie and just get hung up there, and that's how they end up losing. And it's much harder to establish center map control from Charlie than it is on Bravo than it is from Alpha. However, in an Alpha and Bravo strategy, it is very important that the allies move to Bravo as rapidly as possible. And in this case, you can see that the majority of Wes's team is on the hotel and India line, all sort of gravitating towards Alpha, and this is going to be at their detriment. In fact, you can see that somebody's already pinging on the map. The majority of the ships that are on the hotel and India line should be making a direct line for Bravo, in my opinion, at this point. Let the Akatsuki and the Gajimata and maybe the Omaha worry about capturing Alpha. There is only a couple of opponents that are near the Alpha cap. There was an Akatsuki, and there's I think that's a New York battleship, but they're eventually just going to end up turning away. And the Allies can serve themselves much better in a game like this by moving to Bravo as quickly as possible, taking at least 4 or 5 of those ships and just immediately moving to Bravo, and then they will hold off the opponents quite readily. Now, Wes has been working in the middle of the map. Oh, actually, one thing I should point out here. Wes looks like he's playing without a camo, and that is not the case. He does have a camouflage on. There does seem to be a bug in the replay. Wes confirmed that he was using the permanent camo that was made available as part of the Italian cruiser event a few weeks ago, and his detection is in fact consistent with having a camo on. So definitely seems to be some sort of bug with the replay. But in any case, Wes has been working in the middle of the map, trying to support his team as much as he can. He's been doing a lot of maneuvering. He's been leveraging the smoke the exhaust smoke that's available to the Italian cruisers to try to keep himself protected, especially when he gets targeted by a lot of opposition. He's routinely targeted by 2, 3, 4, 5 opponents at a time, and that's largely because he's one of very few ships on his team that the opponents can see and hit. Again, the majority of Wes's team continue to gravitate towards Alpha. Many of them are very slow battleships. There are 2 Colorados, there's a New York. Those are all very slow ships. And it's going to take them a long time if they go all the way to Alpha and then start making their way to Bravo. In fact, At least two of the battleships won't even attempt to get into Bravo until very, very late in the game. So Wes has now lost about half of his health, trying to help sort of contain things in the center of the map. And I want to make an observation here about the ammos that the Italian cruisers have here, because his engagement here with the Kirov is a good example of this. So the Italian cruisers, I think most people know, the tech tree cruisers have access to the semi-armor piercing shells and not high explosive. And there, in fact, you get a demonstration of their potency. He got a Citadel hit using the semi-armor piercing against the angled Kirov. And for a little while, he was using armor piercing because the Kirov is a quite thinly armored cruiser, and armor piercing is normally a very logical choice for most cruisers. However, the semi-armor piercing has a higher alpha than the armor piercing. Plus, it has better penetration. Plus, it cannot overpen. I apologize if my voice doesn't sound very good. I think I may be coming down with a cold. In any case, so his engagement there with the Kirov, he was actually much better off using the semi-armor piercing. I think he did realize that. He was firing armor piercing a few times, hoping to get a nice broad, juicy broadside Citadel hit. Didn't quite come, but then once he switched to the semi-armor piercing, things worked out very, very well. Now, looking at the overall tactical situation, the opponents are largely continued to congregate around Alpha. The opponents have moved into Bravo, and West is really the closest thing they have that the opponents can likely see near the Bravo cap. There are a couple of Allied destroyers that are now moving up the west flank. They seem to be chasing a handful of ships that are far from the objective, that are up in the northwest corner, so that's not very helpful for the team. And so Wes is having to bleed off here. So Wes is following a very common practice, of cruiser players to kite, which is angling away while they fire on targets, and this allows them to angle out and avoid getting hit or minimize the amount of damage that they may be taking. And he really needs his allied battleships to move up and start drawing some of this fire. We did lose one of the allied destroyers, the Akatsuki, that again was chasing ships up sort of on the northwest side of the map. The allied Gajamada, however, is staying focused on the objective. He's going to move back toward Bravo and look to try to take Bravo back for the Allies. The Allies currently have a 2-ship deficit. They've now lost control of Bravo, but like I said, the Gajamada is looking to get back there and get some sort of map control. Now, Wes is moving in with the Gajamada to try to support him, while there are some opponents here, including this Emile Berton that is, well, frankly, way overextended from his allies. But again, Wes uses armor piercing here. I probably would have stuck with the semi-armor piercing against cruisers. The semi-armor piercing on the Italian cruisers is particularly powerful against destroyers. And in fact, there with that semi-armor piercing, he was able to finish off the Emile Berton for his second kill. But the Allies, the one battleship that they did have, which was the ARP Congo, he pushed up, but again, he was one of very few ships that they could shoot at, and you can see that the Allies, the remaining battleships, continue to linger in and around Alpha without supporting the center of the map. If those guys moved up with the Gajamada here and with Wes here, they would have a much easier time being able to establish some map control. Wes is continuing to have to peel off here. He still had a lot of opponents that were firing on him. He's going to fire on the Atlanta. He's got to bleed away. He's just lost too much of his health. He isn't going to be able to stay. He isn't going to be able to stay and tank for much longer. He's already tanked almost 1.5 million for the team, which is a travesty given that at least 2 of his allied battleships, if not all 3 that are still in the Alpha, have taken virtually no damage whatsoever. Wes is looking to try to get some shots in here on the Bacalan that has moved down toward the Bravo area. And so again, this is a perfect example, again, like I said, of how not to play an Alpha and Bravo strategy. The opponents successfully pushed through Charlie. They have now established center map control, and so it's going to be much harder for the opponents to sort of get a handle on things. Wes is looking to try to, again, peeling off here, trying to keep some pressure on the Vauquelin. And then he also notes that he's about to get into range of one of the other destroyers that has been in smoke. Now that last salvo where he got 5 semi-armor piercing shells on the Vauquelin took a lot of the health away from the Vauquelin, and there he does finish off the destroyer for his 3rd kill. Now he's going to come over and support the Omaha by putting some fire on the Akatsuki. Fortunately, this opposing Akatsuki really isn't playing to the objective either, because he's so far from an objective. You can see that the allied Gajamada is moving back into Bravo here. I think we are going to lose the Omaha here quite soon. He's going to end up. Fortunately, the Omaha does take down the Akatsuki. It looks like he is the Omaha was going to avoid the torpedoes, but I think he is going to get finished off by the King George here fairly quickly. Now, thankfully, one of the allied Colorados has moved out of Alpha and is moving towards Bravo. So he can start drawing some of the fire. In fact, I just mentioned there goes the Omaha. The opposing Hill took him out, and that Hill does a very good job for his team. I think he ends up being very high on the leaderboard for his team. Now you can see that Wes has had to peel very far away because he's now he's got the attention of the King George, and he needs to get into some concealment, reposition, and re-engage on terms that are better for him. Now, the Allies have started to bring this back. They now have a 2-ship advantage. They're regaining control on Bravo. So this is starting to turn around here very well. Wes, I'm going to note Wes. Wes is already up to almost 1.8 million tanked in this game in a tier 7 cruiser. So that says a lot for a tier 7 match in this situation. Now, Wes has held his fire again. This is a very good demonstration of a cruiser practice. He held his fire till he got into concealment. He is now repositioned in a way, and he's working a target that is distracted. So the King George has taken his attention off of Wes. You can see that his guns are pointed forward, and so Wes is going to be able to work the King George without fear of being struck by the King George. There are no other opponents at this point that we know of that are able to fire on Wes. So this is again a very good cruiser practice to be able to work flanks and work targets that they can see you, but they're not firing on you, and so you're able to put your DPM to work and wear down some of these opponents. We do lose the last of the other allied cruisers, the Omaha, and so it's just the Gajamada who did get Bravo back for the Allies. And then, as I mentioned, these other battleships. You notice that there's a New York and a Colorado that are on the southeast side of Alpha. They still have not come out of the cap. And in fact, it's going to be quite a while before we pan over there. But I don't know if they've taken virtually any damage, even at this point in the game. I think Wes was either trying to gauge the speed of the King George. I don't think he intended to send torpedoes because the Gajamada would have been in the way. The Gajamada does take down the King George, and so the Allies have retained a 2-ship advantage. They're up to 800 points. They've maintained control over Bravo. There is the New York, the opposing New York, that is at Hotel 7. There's a Hill. The Hill is going to move back into Bravo. In fact, he just did. And then there is a Helena that's backing up the Hill. So Wes is going to move back toward the center of the map. The Helena takes down the Colorado, the Allied Colorado that had moved out. And the the opposing New York has also gone down. So it's just the Hill and the Helena. The Helena is quite healthy at this point. The Hill is quite healthy as well. The Gajamada is having to peel off here because he should not be trying to engage. If the Gajamada engaged the Hill alone, he would easily win that gunfight. But he can't compete with the 15 guns of the Helena as well, and so he needs to peel off and get out of the way. Wes is looking to try to get some flanking distraction fires. They're a very good example of the summer armor piercing, well over 5,000 damage from 4 penetrating hits. Unfortunately, we do lose the Gajamada, and so now it's just Wes and the 2 battleships against the Hill and the Helena. Now, Wes can peel off here. They have a 175 point lead. It's still going to take another about 20 seconds before the opponents get Bravo, but they can't at this point afford to lose any more ships for sure. They may still have to sink one other opponent, even if the opponents take Bravo back, in order to at least ensure that they can win. Wes is, again, there's the Confederate. Gets 5 shells, 5 penetrating hits on the Helena. Now, I don't know if we saw the health of the New York and Colorado, but again, when I was watching this replay for the first time, I was astonished at how healthy those 2 battleship players were and how late they were healthy into the game. Again, Wes did fire some armor piercing there. My general view is that semi-armor piercing is the superior choice in 90% of the cases, but there are definitely times when armor piercing can be useful, but he's just going to keep up the semi-armor piercing at this point. The Helena has now lost his engine. He has held his fire and has gone into concealment, but Wes is going to get close enough to light him back up. There's another nice hit. 4 shells on. It looks like the battleships on Wes's team have overestimated the Helena's speed. Don't remember if yes, he does finish off the Helena. That's his 4th kill of the game. He's up to 108,000 damage, so now they're just dealing with the Hill, and so he's going to look to try to get the Hill down. The Allies at this point should have this pretty much locked up at this point. Oh yes, now we can see there's the New York and Colorado on the right-hand side of the screen. They are way, way, way too healthy at this stage in the game. And again, that's just a reflection. I apologize for harping on this so much, but that's a reflection again of how not to play this map and to stay in alpha for such a long period of time. And Wes is going to get the final shells in here on the Hill in just a moment and finish off the Hill for his Kraken Unleashed, and definitely going to earn top XP for the leaderboard and for the game. So there's the kill. 109,000, almost 110,000 Confederate Confederate and Kraken, excuse me. 5 kills. And I think 2,800 base XP? 2,300, I'm sorry, 2,300 base XP for the win. Very well done, Wes. Thank you very much for sharing a good demonstration of both cruiser tactics and the capabilities of the Italian cruisers. So it was an honor to share this with the group. I hope everybody enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.